Hello everyone, Russ of Aquarium Pets here. An unboxing from the Bug Factory. As you can see, it's a mealworm growing pod. And I'm excited to try this out. I've been growing my own mealworms for a very long time, quite successfully. And if you want to check out my video on a pretty simple method to do it, you can check it out right up here. But this mealworm growing pod has some advantages that my method doesn't have, and I am interested in trying it out, seeing how that goes. Let's get it out of the box first. You can see this has got step-by-step instructions, but there's also a QR code. You can scan that QR code. It'll take you to a website with a video that has a very detailed explanation of how this works. And so I'll put a link to that website where you can order your own, as well as learn more about how to do this. So one thing I wanted to point out before we go much further, see the Bug Factory, when I originally saw these, I saw it on Instagram. There was an Instagram post about these mealworm growing pods, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting. I wonder what that's like. I'd like to try it out. And I noticed it was, the website was a UK website. I thought, oh, maybe they don't ship here, but I contacted them, sent them a message and said, I'm interested in trying one of these out. And they said, oh, okay, well, that's great. You can try it out. And I said, I didn't know if they were available in the US, but they said, yeah, we have these available in the US, no problem at all, which I thought was great. So I'm going to give it a try. You can see there are various different parts here, and we'll go through an explanation of this. So first of all, there are 3 lids here. These are the lids. If I flip it around, you can see there's a little area, and this is the spot where I put it in. You can put a carbon filter in, which I think is pretty cool. It's an activated carbon filter. I think it's carbon infused open cell foam is what's going on here. And the idea here is that this can help reduce odors, and that you can rinse these out and replace, put them back in and use them for a while. And once they're gone, I was curious when I first saw that these were there, what to do when they run out. And the website offers these to be replaced, but you can use them. They're intended to be used more than once before you do that. I haven't noticed really big issues with odor from my mealworms, but I live in a very dry climate, and I'm sure in a more humid climate you might have bigger issues with that. And I'm sure it also depends on what you're feeding and how much you're feeding of moist food and that kind of thing as well. So next step is to put all of these in the little slip-in area I have here, compartment, whatever you want to call it, for the foam carbon filters. Just get stuck there a little bit. Move it around. And there we go. They're all in. Okay. So the lids are ready. The next step is to take one of these trays. And it says to add about 1 inch of oatmeal or other food. Let's see, is that about 1 inch all the way along? Put a little bit more in. So there's about 1 inch in there. The next step is to add some mealworms. So these are mealworms from my culture. I just grabbed, the number I could grab in a very short time from my culture. They do advise putting more than this in, and I'm going to. This is just for, illustration purposes, kind of see how it works. So I'm just going to add a few mealworms. This is what I could grab from my culture in a very short time. So I can go back through my culture and grab some more. I may buy some as well. Doesn't hurt to add new blood, that kind of thing. So there are the mealworms. And you see I added this piece of carrot. I would actually end up adding more than that. I'll add some more in a minute, but there's a couple of pieces of carrot there for them to eat. I'll probably add some slices of sweet potato and things like that too, because you don't want the worms to dehydrate. So this is kind of the initial stock to get the culture going. Like I said, you generally would want to use more than that. And then one of these trays I'm going to leave empty for the moment, because that's going to come into play more. What's that? A couple of pieces of plastic. I'm not sure where they came from. Hopefully I didn't break something when I was unboxing it there. But anyway, there we go. I don't see any broken pieces of anything. Oh, I think I see what's going on. It's actually, these came off from right here. This section, there are a couple of pieces that broke off there. I'm not sure if that's going to be a big issue or not. I kind of doubt it. It's going to be a big issue. But what I want to do, yeah, because that sits right in the base anyway, so it's not going to matter. Okay, so this tray here is one of the unique features of this setup, and one of the reasons I'm excited to try it out. Let me explain more about this. All right, I just went to go get some sweet potatoes, sliced up these, washed and sliced up these organic sweet potatoes for the mealworms. The mealworms themselves, as well as the beetles. I'm going to give the beetles some as well. Put some food in there, and we give some potatoes for the beetles as well, sweet potatoes. Okay, now I'm ready to put some beetles in. You don't necessarily need to start with beetles. I'm just doing it because I have a few beetles that I just pulled out of my culture, so I'm going to put some beetles in there. Oh, there's a mealworm that I accidentally put in with the beetles. Not a huge deal, but I put it there with the worms. So the mealworm growing pod is designed to be started with just mealworms because that's likely what you're going to be able to purchase, and not an issue to add some beetles right now, but not necessary either. The same goes for pupae. The pupae should come naturally as you, as your mealworms mature. But I pulled a few pupae just for illustrational purposes out of my culture. I'm going to put some of those in here as well. So one of the things that stands out to me about this culture setup that I think is really cool is this pupa tray. There's bits of substrate from my old culture there. The pupa tray is kind of unique in the cultures that I've seen, or the culture methods that I've seen, because now the pupae, once you remove them from the mealworm portions of the culture, they self-sort, or the beetles self-sort. Once they metamorphose into beetles, they'll crawl off this lip and they will go down into the beetles, which I like, because then you don't have to protect the pupae from the beetles. One of the reasons that you separate the pupae, probably the main reason you separate the pupae from the beetles, is that the beetles, especially if they're hungry, or even more so if they're thirsty, they will come and nibble on the pupae, which are fairly defenseless. They can wiggle a little bit. When you pick them up, you can see that one wiggling a little bit. Here, they'll wiggle, but they can't really escape. They can just kind of wiggle around, which is why this lip is here, to keep them from wiggling off of this platform. But they can't protect themselves if a beetle or a mealworm tries to gnaw on them. So I like the fact that this protects them, but once the beetles have metamorphosed, they're capable of crawling off and getting into here, where they're getting into the egg-laying tray. So the idea is the beetles can't fit through these holes, but the young mealworms and the eggs can, so they'll fall down into this tray. And as you can see, some of that oatmeal has already fallen down. Well, one beetle fell down somehow. I probably just spilled that. It looks like a dead beetle. But anyway, here, some of the food will trickle down, and as the beetles munch on it, they'll make it into finer pieces. And enough food will end up down here that the eggs, when they're young, will have plenty to eat. And then you lift this up, add more food to this tray, and put this in an empty tray. Put the beetle tray in an empty tray and keep going. And that way, if you keep loading this with pupae as your colony goes on, and you keep moving this beetle tray to an empty tray and rotating them out and feeding from the tray where there's the most mealworms, you'll have basically a continuous supply of mealworms all the time, which I think is pretty fantastic. So before we put it all together and go over a couple of things that I really like and some ideas that I have, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons, patreon.com. I really appreciate everything that you do. I really appreciate the support that you give the channel. There's a lot we do on this channel. Could not do without you, absolutely. And we're gaining new patrons all the time. So if you would like to help support AquariumX Pets and find out what it's like to be a patron and what kind of benefits there are for a patron, then go to patreon.com and search for AquariumX Pets, or just check out the link that I'll put down in the description and at the end of this video. And now back to this. Kind of a recap of some things that I really like. This pupil tray is pretty fantastic. I think that's the innovation that really sold me on trying to try this out. The fact that it's full of these holes, I think, is great from a ventilation standpoint. It's got enough ventilation on the lids, and there's enough air movement between the different trays, between this tray and this tray, that the mealworms are not going to have issues. Of course, between this tray and this tray, there's no airflow, but it doesn't matter because we've got plenty of airflow. And when you stack one on top of the other, I'll show you how that works. There are little feet. There are little feet on the bottoms of the trays, and I know I'm trying to do this without pouring out what I'm doing. Hopefully I didn't pour everybody out. I didn't. I'm good. I didn't pour everybody out. I should show you on another tray, just a second here. These little feet are raised all over the bottom of this tray. So the idea is when you put this tray on top of the next one, and you're stacking these trays, you don't have to worry about cutting off all that ventilation, which I think is great. I think a lot of mealworm colonies fail because they're not well ventilated enough. You want them not to be dehydrated, which is why you provide them with moist pieces of vegetables or other things to hydrate them with. But you don't want them to be too wet. And this ventilation that is afforded by these feet on the bottoms of these trays and by all the holes on the top here really help to keep that ventilation going. Moldy, wet cultures, wet cultures can be moldy, but wet cultures can also get mites. If the cultures are too wet, they will attract a lot of mites, and that can destroy your culture as well. So I think these have some really great benefits. I think they are very logical how they're organized. So it's going to be very easy for me to see, oh, okay, these beetles have laid a lot of eggs. Now I'm just going to dump some oatmeal and other food in here, put this tray on the bottom, or on a different level, and then I'm going to take this empty tray and I'm going to put these in here, maybe top it off with oatmeal and some moist vegetables, and just start over with this one. So it's really, really easy to get a lot of production with minimal effort. That is at least my guess, and what seems to be going on here. I also really appreciate the idea behind this product. Not only is it made of recycled materials, and it's recyclable itself, but it also enables you to take food waste, which would otherwise be discarded, and turn it into food for mealworms, which in turn, of course, become food for other creatures, whether you're raising chickens or lizards or whatever it may be. You're finding ways to make good use of that. So I really like that about this product as well. Full disclosure, this is my first time that I've seen this, and so I haven't tried it yet. I want to. I'm excited to. Of course, I'm doing it now, and I will give you an update. I'll give you a review of this apparatus, this setup, once I've had a chance to try it out. But if you are interested in trying out your own, I'll have a link down in the description where you can get one, as I mentioned. And let me know what you think. The worms are making themselves right at home. You can see these beetles are munching on that piece of carrot there. And it won't be long before this culture is full of eggs, and we'll really be rocking and rolling. So Thanks to thanks to the Bug Factory for sending this. It was free of charge for me just to try out, which I really appreciate. And thanks for watching. I post videos every Wednesday and Friday, all on aquarium and vivarium pets, with lots of emphasis on arthropods, things like live foods, like these mealworms. So please feel free to share, rate, comment, and if you haven't already,
subscribe.
And then tap the bell for all notifications so you don't miss my next video.